Wow. I wanted to talk today. Just it's what a strange time we live in, and the only reason I'm saying this is because the last couple days just been intense. I've started a new job. Uh, it's just vicious out there. It's just really vicious. Everybody's angry, and it's been really hard. It's definitely been hard. Like the job's easy, the tasks are easy. The hardest thing to do is the emotional, or to deal with is like the emotional aspect of what people think are humans, or what it is to be human even. And it's just been a nightmare. It's been really bad. So what I wanted to do today, I usually bring good news and I keep it really light, and I want to do that for you guys. I want to try and do that. On the flip side of things, I also wanted to talk a little bit about this like inability for people to get their heads out of their ass. And it's called "get your head out of your ass" syndrome, and I'm gonna hashtag that later. And the only reason I'm saying that is because like I go out in the streets today, and it's like this thing in America where we have to and it is a thing where we have to bounce back really quickly to show force, it's dominance, and I go out in Albuquerque today on the way back from work, and the streets are buzzing. Everybody has their windows down. Nobody's outside or walking because they're scared to go in downtown Albuquerque. That's a whole different story. And instead, what they're doing is they're in their cars, and or whoever's in there, whoever's in their body, and they are playing rap music and acting like nothing is wrong. And I have to really sit back and I have to say, good for them for getting out of the house. I guess what I'm experiencing is what do you call it? It's a lack of consciousness on people, and it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary here in Albuquerque. And so I go home today, I see all these people with their windows down. It's supposed to be Pride Week, and more power to the LGBTQ community, but everything's boarded up. The windows are boarded up. They've tried to paint signs. They're trying to be proud of who they are, and it's like some post-apocalyptic scene. The bars have their windows boarded up. The governor just gave an order saying some bars could open up, but I think a lot of bar owners are still scared to take those boards down because they're still rioting, there's still protests, and money is also a thing. So business is not necessarily booming here, and I think there's also a responsibility on business owners maybe not to sell alcohol to people right now. And so I'm seeing all that today. I get home and I come into my apartment, and I have some greens. I'm with my dog. Everything's fine, and my heart just is it feels like it's trying to get out of its chest. It's beating. It's trying to get out of its chest. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm 32, going on 23. It shouldn't be happening like this. And yeah, it was a really scary experience. So I'm interested in knowing what it is you all are going through right now, and what it is you all are experiencing. I have tools and I could teach a lesson here. It's just, to me, it's almost like can't you see, everyone? This is not the way. This is not normal. There's no such thing as a new normal. Changing things from an old normal to a new normal may not necessarily be a good thing, especially when the new normal is chaos, insanity. Let's work ourselves through a virus. We're scared of a second wave, and we're still fighting a first wave. The news tells me we printed a lot of money and like no one is reacting. Like no one is reacting or behaving. I should say not reacting, because that can lead to overreaction. I should say what is the word? Behaving in a way that would seem sane and appropriate. But I guess, you know what? I guess you got to party a little bit when like things are going down. I wouldn't do that, and I think it's a really bad idea. Are we going to lock ourselves inside for the rest of our lives? No. I don't think we should do that. And I wish everybody were here in Albuquerque and they could really see how things are. So that's really the only video I wanted to make today, or that's the only thing that I wanted to talk about today. And here's another thing. I'm from Salisbury, Maryland, and the biggest thing about Salisbury and what they did is, like Donald Trump said specifically, Maryland could get some more wisdom. So I'm from this small town, and I'm just like sitting back, and I'm like, not necessarily, well, I am kind of reflecting. I'm reflecting on this, and I'm just really upset. It's just a really upsetting situation. And every experience I would have right now, and every gut instinct I have is like, it's not a good idea to go outside right now. It's really not a good idea to even leave your house. And what I'm working through is like this mentality not to take money. Like I still want to work. I still want to work for my money. Or not even. Like I'm so tired of being a work slave. So that's the video that I wanted to talk about today. I do like making money. Working is just a pain in the ass, isn't it? That is what I wanted to talk about today. And there's more on my mind, and it has to do with Black Lives Matter, being a human being right now. If you're a thinker like me, you think that in a situation like this where you want to think and grow rich, that you don't want to do this right now. It's just not necessarily a good time. Like the stock market is so in flux. Jobs are hard to come by. Summer school's closed down, so for a teacher I can't really work. I can't even go to school because school is so expensive right now. They just raised the tuition. I'm just like, oh my god, this is just a nightmare. It's a really bad nightmare. It's kind of spooky. It's almost like spooky walking outside. So what else did I want to talk about? Yeah, it's just a really surreal situation. And I also had another experience where I was a Bernie Sanders supporter in this election, and I'm kind of like doubting my support, but I still believed in what his message was. It was really compassion, it was really caring, and it was talking about, he has a video out right now, and he's talking about Republican leadership in the Senate, and he's like, it's almost not even there. He's losing his mind, and he's saying, this is a disaster. He's saying this is like Great Depression times, and it really is in terms of job growth, building a society, the government having to do anything, really protect their society, having a direction, and he's sitting back, or he's standing up and he's shouting, and he's saying, Republican leadership is non-existent right now. He's saying Republican leadership is non-existent right now. What type of government prints $14 trillion? It's like a Great Depression out there, and there's no plan, there's no anger, there's no learning from history. There's giving to top banks. And I'll post this video on my website today. But it's a really, really good video. So that's what I wanted to talk about too, and I had an interesting conversation with one of my friends yesterday about economics in general. And when they print all this money and they give away all this money as a stimulus, I'm thankful that people still have homes. However, if you go and you try and you apply for unemployment right now, you're not going to get your check right away. It doesn't really work like that. Unemployment is also supposed to be something that happens when you're unemployed and you lost your job. It's a type of insurance. So the fact that it's been morphed and changed into something it's not has really bucked the system, and redefining the system in this way is not good. It's not a good thing. So the last time this happened, we had the flu in 1918. So we had the flu in 1918, and eventually by 1929 we reached the Great Depression, where people were living on the streets in New York City. And one of the things that happened is the economy crashed, Wall Street crashed, protections, securities, bonds were no longer guaranteed. And it was they blamed the sickness on this a lot. Eventually we got an influenza and a flu vaccine. The same kind of disaster happened though. And the disaster was we had a president named Hoover that he didn't give a fuck. He didn't care. He tried all these ways to manipulate the market. He had these backroom deals with bankers. And it didn't go well. It didn't really work well. So what ended up happening is they had these things called Hoovervilles in New York City. And Hoovervilles in New York City were terrible. They were, they turned into shanty towns. They were Great Depression style shanty towns. And people were on the streets, they were homeless. You already know the history. And we had a Republican conservative in charge as president back in that time. So we've got somebody even worse right now. Instead of getting people back to work, or even kind of like caring a little bit and us learning from our mistakes, the human race, it's like he opened a history book back to a spooky place in history. And he said, let's make it worse. He said, let's make this worse. Printing money is not the solution, and Bernie Sanders has already said this. He said, you can't just print $14 trillion as an economy. He said, it's just, and it's just not sustainable. My friend also asked me yesterday, he said, think about it. And he was on the side of the government, and he said, think about it. Right now is the proper response. If you were an economist here and you had a family, wouldn't you file for unemployment and take that stimulus check? And I said, oh, I would think twice about it, especially if you realize that unemployment has rules, and it's a system in place for insurance. The insurance is if you lose your job or you're laid off, you take that unemployment, right, until you find a new and better job, until you heal, your back gets better, or whatever. And I said, as an economist, what I would do is I would sit back and I would say, is this a sustainable place to leave my future, to teach, to raise a family with 3 pandemics in 14 years, SARS, swine flu, bird flu, and the coronavirus now, which they're saying was worse than anything else. What I would do is I would say, especially as an economist, I would also say, what the fuck? I would say, what the fuck are we doing? The system, economics, is just full tilt crazy right now. I mean, it's absolutely insanity. And printing $14 trillion is not the way to go about a crisis of this magnitude. So what I would do is I would say, if you are, and my answer to the question was, if I were an economist, what I would do is I would consider leaving and taking out my retirement early. I'd want to leave and I'd want to go somewhere, and I'd want to work for a society that had something there, like that was building, that wasn't going through a struggle that we've already been through, that we fought for 60 years and somehow it got worse. If I were an economist, I would say, and I had a family, I would say, hey, let's get out. It's time to get out. I mean, this is like panic mode. So, one second. That's what I would say. I would seriously consider taking my retirement out, and looking to go to a country that's sustainable and that has sustainability, that's got some structure, that's got some future prospect. And it's not because I want to take something from society. It's because society is a give and a take. Society is a give and a take. If you're an economist, yes, you want to give. However, you want to know that there is insurance, right? That there is insurance. In case something goes wrong, if you get unemployment, there are benefits. That your Social Security is there when you retire. That your pension is there if you're a public employee and you're giving to society. And call me crazy, but those systems are what were set up in the 50s and the 60s for. And they were set up for this type of thing. When you retire and you're a public servant, you want Social Security. Or if even you're a private citizen and you're part of the private sector, you would want to get your Social Security. And the reason is because we're not work slaves. We don't want to just die and work ourselves to death and not have any backing. Social Security is there as a protection system. So that's why we need that. And then my friend responded. So after all this, my friend responded, "You're an idiot." And I said, "I'm an idiot? How am I an idiot?" And he said, "You're an idiot because you would cash out your retirements and then they take your retirement." And I said, "How am I the idiot though when I'm thinking about my family and I'm thinking about moving to live in a society that's safe and a world that's safe?" And as an economist, wouldn't you want to sit back right now and wouldn't you want to say, I have no idea? I mean, if you were an economist right now, wouldn't you say, I have no fucking clue? I have no clue. I have no idea what to do. I know as a teacher, I'm livid. I'm pretty livid over what has happened. And the only reason I'm livid is because this is not what we taught people to do. We also, as teachers, didn't prepare for, or we prepared for this, but the pandemic that we have right now was not seen coming. We could have employed somebody at the CDC. We could have had a good health organization. Donald Trump didn't have to fire that guy to save money. And in 2002, when this all happened, we should have been really trying something different and better when it came to overall health. So, yeah, I'm sure about that. So with all those like doubting voices out there who are like, "Oh, we'll work through this, we'll work through anything," you're an idiot. If the solution is work, it's you're falling into the propaganda machine that has been here since how long? Work is not all bad, right? That's not what I'm saying. So don't spin my words, don't put words on my mouth. What I'm saying is quality of life is also important. Living in a good society is also important. Workers' rights, healthcare, your health, and having benefits when you retire, Social Security, that system that you pay into. That way, when you get old and you retire and you don't want to work anymore, you can collect what you paid back into the system. And Social Security was a good system, and it is still a good system until George Bush took money from it and nobody trusted it. That's a whole other story. Donald Trump just tried to do the same thing. I made a video on that, and somebody finally stopped him, thank God. But Social Security runs really efficiently. It runs for like 1 cent. It's just so it economically makes sense so much that it's a good social net. The other worst thing that we're experiencing right now is a conservative, pro-rights, it's like this pro-life mentality where it's just vicious against the liberals to the extent where it's like liberals are abortion killers. And that's not what that is all about, if you're a liberal, conservative, or not. What I would say is the rhetoric about all this has really got to stop. It's like lighting a fire, and it's like an incendiary grenade. Right now, I would be honest with you, I think a proper response would be probably to do what they're doing out in the streets. I mean, like burning buildings. They're revolting. I mean, this is a total revolt. I hate to see my cities go. I really do. But if the system is stacked again against you, you can't walk into those stores and buy those things that you want. You can't do it, especially when they're burned down. What should be done is these things should be protected. Either that or America should just let go. I mean, should just let go and stop. And it's almost like what Rome and money built. What Rome and money built and what collapsed afterwards. Because a country cannot print and borrow money into oblivion. A country cannot be eternally in debt. If it is, then the dollar is just not a valid form of currency anymore. And I don't want to see that happen. But if the dollar is really fake and has no value because we just printed $14 trillion and some asshole just said, fuck it, whatever. I know the consequences, but I don't give a fuck. I hate people. I live in a gold tower, whatever. That's what you're dealing with. A narcissist, an egoist, sociopath on the verge of Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini. I mean, this guy is a nut. He's totally terrible. So if you are in support of Donald Trump and in support of the America that he's behind and he built, I disagree with you 100%. And I would really ask you to take a look back at what's happening right now and what's happened here and printing $14 trillion. And as a public servant, as a worker here, how could you raise your family? How could you do it? It would almost be impossible unless you hid. So I hope that you guys have a great day. That was a really good talk, and what I'll do is I'll post that video and let you see what I'm talking about. If you have any questions on economics, what people are saying, just let me know. And keep in mind, the last time we went through this type of thing in 1918, we failed miserably. I mean, when we printed money and had to print money, it was really hard to get back what we wanted and what we were building. It was not an easy thing to do. And it was strenuous. It was a struggle. So I hope that you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.